The Cat and the Old Rat by Aesop. There was once a cat who was so watchful that a mouse hardly dared show the tip of his whiskers for fear of being eaten alive. That cat seemed to be everywhere at once with his claws all ready for a pounce. At last the mice kept so closely to their dens that the cat saw he would have to use his wits well to catch one. So one day he climbed up on a shelf and hung from it, head downward, as if he were dead, holding himself up by clinging to some ropes with one paw. When the mice peeped out and saw him in that position, they thought he had been hung up there in punishment for some misdeed. Very timidly at first they stuck out their heads and sniffed about carefully. But as nothing stirred, all trooped joyfully out to celebrate the death of the cat. Just then the cat let go his hold, and before the mice recovered from their surprise, he had made an end of 3 or 4. Now the mice kept more strictly at home than ever. But the cat, who was still hungry for mice, knew more tricks than one. Rolling himself in flour until he was covered completely, he lay down in the flour bin, with one eye open for the mice. Sure enough, the mice soon began to come out. To the cat it was almost as if he already had a plump young mouse under his claws, when an old rat, who had had much experience with cats and traps, and had even lost a part of his tail to pay for it, sat up at a safe distance from a hole in the wall where he lived. "Take care," he cried. "That may be a heap of meal, but it looks to me very much like the cat. Whatever it is wisest to keep at a safe distance." The moral of the story is that the wise do not let themselves be tricked twice. The story teaches us that once we have been deceived or tricked, we should learn from our experience and be more cautious in the future. In the story, a cat was so watchful that the mice hardly dared to show themselves. The cat climbed up on a shelf and hung from it, head downward, pretending to be dead. When the mice came out to celebrate the death of the cat, he quickly pounced on them and caught several. Later, the cat rolled himself in flour and waited for the mice to come out, but an old rat warned them that it might be a trap. The story reminds us that we should learn from our experiences and not be fooled twice. The mice were deceived the first time by the cat's trick, but they were wise enough to listen to the old rat's warning the second time. In our lives, we often encounter situations where we need to be cautious and learn from our experiences. The story encourages us to be wise and not be fooled twice by the same trick. It reminds us that we should be cautious and listen to the warnings of others who have more experience. Thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to my channel.